Hey, welcome back to Well, That's Interesting. I never asked these questions, but you're going to tell me anyway, aren't you? Edition. Today is episode 214. Have you ever wondered why tarantulas are hairy? Or how dark deep space really is? We now have an idea. My friends. Oh, my friends, today is all about the most unlikely relationships and the soul-crushing expanse of the universe. Let's get into it. In the first half of the show, we need to talk about tarantulas, and that's a phrase I never thought I'd have to say. But there are around 900 species of tarantula that live on every continent, except Antarctica, and there are just as many incredible facts about these creatures, making them way more complex than meets the eye. Speaking of which, they have 8 of them. But don't worry, these mostly pick up light, darkness, and motion. It's the rest of their body that helps them, air quote, see you and the world around them. Tarantulas are covered in sensory organs called setae, which is spelled way differently than it sounds. It's S-E-T-A-E, and these are bristles or spines that give them their trademark hairy characteristic. These organs are so extraordinarily sensitive, they can detect vibrations, wind direction, chemical signatures like pheromones, and it's even believed they help pick up sound. This is a pretty good deal, especially if you're a creature with 8 legs and a shit ton of surface area. But as it turns out, that deal just got sweeter. A brand new study, published this past August in the Journal of Natural History, added another perk to being smothered in these hairs. Now, like I said, they're not true hair like mammals have. Our hair is mainly made of keratin, while arthropod setae largely consists of chitin, which is the second most abundant polysaccharide in nature. These motherfuckers are a derivative of glucose, of all things. And this stuff is everywhere. It's in fungi cell walls, exoskeletons of insects, and the shells of crustaceans. So, if it sounds like setae is on the stronger side to you, you're right. We will get into the study that suggests that the dense hair covering tarantulas may have in fact evolved as a defense mechanism. We will peep into tarantula burrows and witness these hairs in action. We will discover who they are defending themselves against, and it's going to leave you shocked. And good news, it doesn't stop there. The same defense provided by these hairs has also led to tarantulas forming mutually beneficial relationships. You heard me, relationships. Other animals see tarantulas as a beefy protector, and they repay them in kind. Now, as to who they are, the list is long, and we will get to it. Then after the break, we'll be leaving the infinitesimal hairs of a spider's leg for the seemingly infinite of the universe. And it's fucking dark out there. First, and rightfully so, you may be asking why it's dark to begin with. Well, excellent question. And boy howdy, long, billions of years long story short, there's a few answers. Space is mostly a vacuum, so light has very few particles to hit and reflect back to our eyes. Then there's distance, like so much distance. Stars that are farther away appear less bright, and light from stars, say, more than 13 billion light years away hasn't even reached us yet. And even if we live to the ripe old age of 13 billion, there is still something called the Doppler shift. Thanks to the universe expanding, the most distant galaxies are moving away from us, nearly at the speed of light. So even if their glow had enough time to reach us, we couldn't see the light because it would have been stretched into colors the human eye can't see. So, what if we were just floating out there? I mean, really, really out there. Like, how dark would it be? How dark is dark? This is a serious question astronomers have been asking for years. And now, finally, with the New Horizons spacecraft having passed a Rubicon more than 5.4. It's a lot. It's hard to say because it's so far away. Y'all, it's 5.4 billion miles from Earth. And it's far enough to be free of light contamination from the glow of background dust in our solar system. This spacecraft was able to measure the darkness of the seemingly pitch black of space. Deep space. And the calculations will leave you with chills. We will get into the New Horizons spacecraft. It will take us years and miles from home, and we're going to see what it saw out there. Suddenly, a tarantula doesn't seem very scary, does it? Space is always scarier, y'all. It's just... And hi, I'm Jill Chacha. And if this is your first time listening, oh, welcome to the flock, my luminous business goose. To begin, we're going to start with a journey that, for a select group of creatures, takes nearly a decade in the making. The distance they travel, when compared to the size of their body, is enormously risky and daunting. But if they succeed, their trial ends with the most important day of their life. My friends, I'm talking about what's been called the Great Migration of the Oklahoma brown tarantula. Now, if you haven't heard of this, you might want to take a seat. You will be equal parts amazed and perhaps creeped out. But if you have heard of this, or even seen it with your own eyes, let's bond over this experience. To help explain what in the holy hell I am talking about, it'll be my honor to read an excerpt from an article over at 5280.com, aka Denver's Mile High magazine, written by Courtney Holden and Jessica Giles. It was published just this past September, right in time for the event, and it's titled Tarantulas on the Move! What to Know About Southeastern Colorado's Annual Spider Trek. Quote, each September and October, when the nights in southeastern Colorado turn chilly, but before the hard freezes begin, male Oklahoma brown tarantulas begin their quest for love. They'll amble around 20 to 100 meters or 65 to 330 feet each evening to find it. More and more, visitors are heading to the spider's neck of the grasslands to watch. It's becoming a big deal, says Lorna McAllister, former target species manager at Butterfly Pavilion. It's a very cool ecological thing that's turning into a tourism opportunity. End quote. Dubbed a migration, because it's not technically a migration because there isn't persistent movement or a significant relocation to a new habitat, McAllister says, the journey is a long time coming for these spiders. It generally takes males between 7 and 10 years, and females 10 to 12 years to reach reproductive readiness. By then, the spiders have grown to roughly 5 inches in diameter, and the males have finally grown pedipalps, a pair of appendages attached to their head. Come fall, the of-age males wander around in search of a female's burrow. Upon finding one, he'll stand outside and drum his pedipalps. If the female is a willing partner, she'll crawl to the surface, and the male will hold her up above him so that they're facing each other. It's a quick coupling, and for good reason. He tries to get in there, mate, and get out without being eaten, McAllister says, adding that roughly 1/3 of female tarantulas strike at their mates, and around 20% actually kill them, which is not necessarily retribution for a poor performance. If you're a female and you know you're about to raise 100-something babies, you're probably going to want to take whatever meal you can get. End quote. Well, my winded business goose, the article goes on to say for males who survive their encounters, they have about a year left in their lifespan. And I gave it a Google, and females, well, they can live on for 20 years if they avoid coyotes, foxes, snakes, birds, and 2-inch-long tarantula hawks, which we actually covered before. They're not birds, but wasps. And not only do they have one of the most painful stings on Earth, they parasitize tarantulas by laying an egg in its abdomen. Then the larva can eat the host from the inside out as they grow. Yeah, that's a thing. Meanwhile, in captivity, like as a pet, for example, you better prepare for an investment because female tarantulas can live up to 30 years. And if that sounds like a long time, it is. For context, that's just as long as parrots, box turtles, horses, and koi fish. Now, if any one of these facts left you stunned, we are just getting started. A brand new study has just dropped, and boy howdy, after hearing about what's been discovered, I wouldn't be surprised if Pixar just released a brand new, fantastic, emotionally manipulative film about them. It's just, I'm not complaining about the manipulation. I end up in tears, and I just come back for more. They're very good. Anyway, let's get into it. I ask, what do you like to do in your free time? If you said, well, that's so kind of you to ask. In the mornings, I meander through extensive bibliographic research using the Thomson Reuters database, the Scopus databases, Google Scholar, and ProQuest dissertations and theses. I also use the search terms tarantula, anura, which are tailless amphibians, ants, commensalism, ecological interaction, frogs, mutualism, and symbiosis. Thank you. Well, if you said that, I have spectacular news. I just found your new best friends. Lead author Alireza Zamani, an arachnologist at the University of Turku in Finland. Yes, arachnologist is a thing. Alireza and his team of international researchers did that exact same thing. They conducted an extensive review of previously published literature that focused on how tarantulas interact with various other species. And collectively, the patterns they found and the new information they spotlight will make you change the way you see tarantulas, if that hasn't happened already. Let's start with a photograph. Yes, so please, everyone, drop whatever it is you're holding, be it a kitchen knife, prescription, or a child. It doesn't matter. Pick up your phone. Head on over to today's posts on our social media stuffs, and the first thing you're going to see is a grown tarantula towering over one of the tiniest frogs you're ever going to see. It's no bigger than your thumbnail. I'll give you a sec. Okay. This looks like it's not going to end well. It does not look good, but what if I told you they're roommates? Okay, if you don't believe me, swipe to the next photo. It's going to get even more intimate. Yeah, my friends, that is a small hole in a tree, and I have it up here, and it's adorable. It crammed inside, literally taking up whatever space there is a tarantula and a toad. I don't know how, but this is cute, and there's no personal space here. They are legs to face. My God. My equally friendly business goose, cohabitation between frogs and toads with tarantulas has been documented before. But thanks to this new study, we know that it is no longer a rare phenomenon. Previously, 29 cases of associations between tarantulas and anura from 12 countries have been reported. But now, today, 63 new cases can be added on, all documented from a total of 17 different countries, including the United States, Costa Rica, Paraguay, Peru, Panama, Zimbabwe, South Africa, the Philippines, and Sri Lanka. Yes, and I can see your reaction from here. It says, "What are you talking about? I barely get along with my family in such close quarters. How? And friggin' why would a frog live with a tarantula?" Well, I am so glad you asked. Quote, apparently, the frogs and toads that live within the retreats of tarantulas benefit from the shelter and protection against their predators. In turn, the frogs and toads feed on insects that can be harmful to the spider, its eggs, and its juveniles. It seems that tarantulas might not be as scary and threatening as their reputation suggests. End quote. Said Zamani to the University of Turku, Finland website, utu.fi. Yeah, My friends, somewhere along the evolutionary path of these creatures, they found each other, and they figured out, holy shit, we work really well together and benefit one another. And they keep this pact of, if you eat my enemies, I'll eat yours going. And guess what? This type of relationship doesn't stop with frogs and toads. For the first time, 3 associations, possibly of a mutualistic nature between tarantulas and snakes, has finally come to light. Yeah, now, I can't imagine stumbling upon that kind of burrow, but yes, for one lucky researcher, that happened. In the Guerrero state of Mexico, quote, while turning over a large angular rock lying on the ground in the search of tarantulas, one rock was turned to expose the burrow of a large female standing mere centimeters away from a coiled Michoacan ground snake. No predation attempt was made by the tarantula on the snake. While preparing the camera to record the event, the exposed snake, approximately 30 centimeters or about a foot in length, started to burrow into the soft soil surrounding the spider's burrow. End quote, from the new study we're burrowing into, called An Extensive Review of Mutualistic and Similar Ecological Associations Involving Tarantulas with a New Hypothesis on the Evolution of Their Hirsuteness. I fucking nailed that. Anyway, my friends, the snake was more afraid of the human than the spider. And as to why they were cuddled up, that's still to be fully determined. But one can assume that the answer may resemble that with the toads and frogs. Now, a snake with a spider this large may be a lot for many members of the flock to visualize and take in, but don't worry. It'll get worse for you at this point, because how about 2 big-ass spiders just chilling together? Yeah? Okay, great. Because once again, for the first time, associations between tarantulas and whip spiders and a harvestman have been documented. And if you're so inclined, I do have a photo of the harvestman and tarantula having a moment over at our social media stuff, so you can have a look. It's heartwarming. Now, all interactions we mentioned so far have been pretty copacetic. But as we all know, not every relationship can be so straightforward. Sometimes things get complicated. Sometimes in the course of your life, you develop a frenemy of sorts. Well, as it turns out, this is similar to the relationship between tarantulas and army ants. Yeah, one of the most significant findings of this study is a new hypothesis on why tarantulas are so hairy, and it's linked to army ants. My tremendous business goose, one army ant isn't much of a sight, but hundreds, and I'm talking hundreds at once, working in unison? Well, even for a full-grown tarantula, those numbers are terrifying. Army ants are known to dismantle spiders alive. But not all the time. So join me, will you, in the tarantula burrows of Ecuador and Peru, where a female spider is having a good sit with her brood of newly hatched spiderlings. And we're not alone. With this vulnerable new family are dozens upon dozens of free-roaming army ants. And believe it or not, they're housekeeping. They are removing the bodies of and pieces of meals from mom's last encounters, all to be eaten as snacks for the ant colony back home. So yeah, ants help tarantulas by removing old food, and they get to chow down themselves. On occasion, one or two very hungry ants may tempt fate and try to turn the tide by becoming, well, they take bites on a full-grown tarantula. It's kind of hopeless. They don't get very far. Quote, the dense hair covering the tarantula's body makes it difficult for the ants to bite or sting the spider, end quote, Zamani said in a statement to UTU.fi. Therefore, we believe that the hairiness may have evolved as a defense mechanism, end quote. So, attacking a spider like this in a situation where you already have food is kind of a waste of time, so there's no need to try and make it past this kind of armor. In fact, This hair defense hypothesis is supported by previous studies showing burrowing tarantulas covering their egg sacs in their own hair to stop ants from carrying them away. For real. So-called New World tarantulas, who are found in the Western Hemisphere in what's now called North and South America, they have a nifty trick. They can pluck off their hair. If a predator attempts to grab an egg sac or even a whole-ass tarantula itself, these barbed hairs come loose, embedding in the predator's skin, eyes, and mucous membranes, causing a shit ton of pain. But I can see your quizzical look from here. You're thinking, wait. Only some tarantulas can do this? What do less hairy spiders do then? Do they run and hide? That's kind of funny. My friends, yes, my nimble business goose, they do. To further show that having more city is better than less, you need to see what Aviculata hirschii, that's totally not what it is, guys. That's not how you say it. It's a spider from Peru. And you need to see what it does to escape army ants, because it does not want to be torn apart. This tarantula cannot remove what hairs it has, so it resorts to this Looney Tunes-esque hanging onto the windowsill, hiding from their married girlfriend's husband who just came home approach. So you need to drop whatever windowsill you're hanging onto and check out today's post. Swipe through until you see with your own eyes a grown-ass spider hanging from the tip of a leaf to escape ants on the hunt for prey. That is a bad day, my friends. Yeah. So, my innocent business goose, not only can these hairs detect vibrations, wind direction, chemical signatures like pheromones, they are excellent shields. But the frogs, toads, and snakes around the world already knew that. After the break, we're about to find out how dark is deep space anyway. We are leaving these crowded snug burrows for the emptiness beyond, and it's going to feel like a lot. Oh my God. Stay tuned.
Our bodies come in different shapes and sizes, so doesn't it make sense that our weight loss plan should too? Noom builds a personal plan that factors in dietary restrictions, medical issues, and other personal needs so your plan works for you. One of the things I love about Noom is that it doesn't feel restrictive. Instead of focusing on what you can't eat, it helps you develop a healthier relationship with food. You can still enjoy your favorite treats in moderation, which makes it a sustainable approach that I can actually stick to. If you're looking for a personalized weight loss program that actually works, I highly recommend giving Noom a try. It's a program that's helped me achieve my goals and feel better than ever. Stay focused on what's important to you with Noom's psychology and biology-based approach. Sign up for your trial today at Noom.com. That's Noom.com. Go check out Noom today.
The new Apple Watch Series 10 is here. It has the biggest display ever. It's also the thinnest Apple Watch ever, making it even more comfortable on your wrist. And it's the fastest charging Apple Watch, getting you 8 hours of charge in just 15 minutes. Introducing the all-new Apple Watch Series 10, now available for the first time in glossy jet black aluminum. Compared to previous generation, iPhone XS or later required. Charge time and actual results will vary.
And we're back. We are so back. And my friends, we're going to start with a question that on the surface seems like a simple one to answer, but as we will see, for an accurate calculation, it takes patience, the farthest man-made object in space, and a goddamn village of adorable nerds. So, what is the total amount of visible light the universe generates? To put it another way, if we were having ourselves an intergalactic day trip, and we're looking outside our cabin window, away from any celestial object, would we see any light with our own eyes? How much would we see of the total of all visible light created by every star, every galaxy that ever existed, generated over the course of the universe's 14 billion-ish years. And to put it another way, quote, if you hold up your hand in deep space, how much light does the universe shine on it? Asked Mark Postman, an astronomer at the Science Telescope Science Institute in Baltimore, and lead author of a new paper we're diving into right the fuck now, which published in the August edition of the Astrophysical Journal. Mark, along with a number of researchers from numerous U.S. universities and institutions, including Todd Lauer, an astronomer at the National Science Foundation NORLab in Tucson, Arizona, they had the daunting task of answering this question by measuring the ambient light that suffuses the universe, something called the cosmic optical the cosmic optical background, or as it's unfortunately abbreviated, the COB. Yes. And my mind went to Cobb first, which is why I fucked up on the word background, because calling this the COB is just why? Anyway, long story short, like since the beginning of modern astronomy short, getting a glimpse of the COB without the interference of any star or nearby galaxy is extremely difficult. They're fucking everywhere, surrounding our position here on Earth, making all attempts to measure the strength of the COB from the inner solar system pretty much impossible. Quote, people have tried over and over to measure it directly, but in our part of the solar system, there's just too much sunlight and reflected interplanetary dust that scatters the light around into a hazy fog that obscures the faint light in the distant universe. The Todd said to HubbleSite.org. In a comment to New Scientist, Mark reflected these frustrations as well, no pun intended, and he used this analogy. Quote, every time you try to measure it here from Earth, or from near Earth, you're going to have a lot of uncertainty and there's nothing you can do about it. It's like trying to see the faint stars in the Milky Way from Broadway in New York City. End quote. So, by now you may be thinking, okay, if we could somehow get as far as fucking possible away from Earth with our back to the sun, focusing on deep space, well, we might just have a chance. But how in the holy hell can we get there? I mean, we haven't even made it to Mars. Well, great question. And good point. And good news, my earthbound business goose. We have a non-human friend who can help. Back in a time when the world looked unrecognizable, 2006, NASA launched the New Horizons space probe, and it was packed to the gills with an array of telescopes capable of capturing both visible and non-visible wavelengths of light. For 9 solitary cold years, it floated past our gas-filled giant neighbors, past their moons, past the blue-green U of Uranus, until finally reaching its primary mission, the closest flyby of Pluto yet, which occurred in 2015. The mission was a massive success, and the spacecraft itself was in tip-top shape, so much so that from here on Earth, New Horizons was programmed with another mission. It was to travel another 4 years out there towards Arrokoth, an asteroid in the Kuiper Belt, or the Kuiper Belt. I'm doing great. Now, some fun facts about Arrokoth, because we need to. If you're curious as to what it looks like, I do have an image of it over at our social media stuffs, but it's more fun to imagine a 22-mile-long snowman, because that is its shape. And in honor of the Powhatan people, indigenous to the Tidewater region of Virginia and Maryland, this massive asteroid was named Arrokoth, from the Powhatan language. This language nearly became extinct in the late 18th century, as we all know why, and little of it was recorded. When translated to English, it means cloud. And the Kuiper Belt, it's an extraordinary collection of asteroid bits and gas and dust and planetesimals that form the disk around the outer, and I mean outer, solar system. New Horizons found Arrokoth in all of that, and it nailed its analysis, which means 2 missions completed. Yet most extraordinary of all, New Horizons kept going, kept traveling, and we could still communicate with it. By 2023, it reached a record-breaking 5.4 billion miles, or 7.3 billion kilometers from Earth. If this sounds like an opportunity, you're right. Let's get into it. One of New Horizons' fun gadgets is a long-range reconnaissance imager, or LORI for short. The brilliant minds who designed New Horizons placed LORI inside the machine in a spot that would intentionally shield it from the sun and our solar system. This means LORI is facing deep space with no interference from the sun or our solar system. In addition, LORI received a new command. Take 24 separate images where the target fields are positioned away from the bright disk and core of the Milky Way and any other bright stars. My friends, when those images came back and all the clickety-clack calculations were made, what did the team find? Drumroll, please. Thank you in the back. As so poetic and horrifyingly expressed by Mark to newscientist.com, quote, imagine if you were in a deserted cabin on a moonless night and a mile from your nearest neighbor, and that neighbor's refrigerator door light was on. The change in light on the wall of your cabin when they opened their refrigerator 1 mile away, that is the intensity of the light we're measuring. It's 100 times darker than even the darkest sky you can see from Earth. End quote. I got chills. I just got chills. It's 100 times darker than the darkest sky you could ever see. And that is a lot to take in. Basically, what this means is whatever light that can be seen out there is due to galaxies. Other than galaxies, there's nothing creating light visible to the human eye. Nothing. Again, that is a lot to take in. As for New Horizons, it's fucking killing it. According to HubbleSite.org, it will continue to travel, imaging distant Kuiper belts. It's spelled Kuiper, and it's fucking with my head. It's going to be characterizing the outer heliosphere of the sun and making important astrophysical observations from its unmatched vantage point in the farthest regions of the solar system. End quote. My God. I need to lie down. So thank you for listening, rating, subscribing, telling your friends why tarantulas are hairy, bring it up in a completely non-related conversation, and then just follow it up by saying, look, this is how dark deep space really is. What do you want from me? And a deep, dark thank you to the folks over at Airwave Media, the podcast network to which WTI belongs. If you love this show, and you do, you love the other podcasts in this family. And please, stay interesting.